Louisiana All American Sports Show. 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 Louisiana. If the sports you wanna talk about, then listen to the hottest show that's coming out the south. It's Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels, man. They're gonna sit you down and tell you all about the game and make it plain. 96.9 FM, that's the station. To hear the best sports talk show in the nation. Without hesitation, you should get with this and get your popcorn ready for you better not miss. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana. Check us out.
Ooh, so fresh, so clean. Good morning, Baton Rouge, and welcome to the 32nd edition in the year 2015 of the Louisiana All American Sports Show. It's a beautiful but very hot Saturday morning here in Baton Rouge on today, August the 8th, 2015. A lot going on in the world of sports as we'll jump right into it as we have a lot of people coming in to talk to us and some very great people being honored. It's a great day to be a sports fan. Good morning. This is Eric Hatfield.
And this is Gerard Piper, a.k.a. Joker P.
And I'm Coach Perry Daniels.
And we are ready to get on right down to it. Put the car in drive and punch it as we get ready for another week of sports. Just really quick, kind of a little off topic, but I was listening to the art show on the way in, and it's funny. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about the Lafayette shootings, and always these victims sound like these abstract people, but the host had played a song by this independent band, and he mentioned that one of the women in the band, one of the singers, was Jillian Johnson, one of the two women killed in the Lafayette Theater shooting. So it just goes to show that these are real people with real faces, and people go around with guns and losing their doggone minds. So I just wanted to, that just kind of stuck with me today as I was coming in. It kind of stuck with my mind. But what's going on with the rest of you guys in the world?
Coach?
Man, you kind of hit me over the head just before we went over the air.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I just as I heard it literally right before.
No, not that story, Eric. That definitely needed to be mentioned, and that does bring some reality into the situation. It's not some abstract thing, but the situation that Joker shared just before we went over, and we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. I don't want to lead off with that. Let's talk some high school sports.
Absolutely. Well, look, we have a guest coming up today on Louisiana All American Sports. He's been on the show before in a variety of capacities, but he's a good guy. He's been an assistant coach with Perry before. He's coached at Struma, and he is the head football coach at Capitol High School, and that is Coach Johnny Duncan. We've talked about Coach Duncan and his son, Johnny Jr., who is now, I saw him in the hall the other day. I want to say he's at Nichols, no, he's at Southern. Johnny Jr. is at Southern University. Just a good Baton Rouge sports family, good people, and Coach Duncan will be on the air. He is really working to get that Capitol High School program, get some gusto and some life into it, and really they've made... they made silk from a sow's ear at that program over at Capitol, and we will be hearing from Coach Duncan a little bit later today. Also, in the world of high school sports, there was a story that broke late yesterday. The LHSAA announced a new assistant executive director yesterday. I don't know, Perry, if you got the story or not. I forwarded it to you. It was kind of late.
I did, man. Okay. That was exciting.
Oh,
yes,
awesome,
I did.
Awesome, man.
Okay, yeah, Miss Rhonda Blanford Green was hired for the position of assistant executive director. She joins the 15-person staff, which includes the current assistant directors BJ Gazzardo and Keith Alexander. This lady has been around the block. First of all, it's refreshing to see that there is a woman getting some diversity on there, and that's one part of the diversity, but she has a 19-year career at the state association level. A lot of her background's in Colorado. She had duties overseeing boys soccer and cheerleading and dance. In 2012, Miss Blanford Green became the first African-American woman to lead a state governing body minority when she accepted the executive director position with the Nebraska School Activities Association, which she held for 3 years. It's also very impressive because Nebraska is a very red state, but not too many black people. So that tells me, though, that when you can come up through there and you're not just a minority, but you're kind of isolated in a way, that she's got some exceptional skills. So I think that, you know, I'm really impressed with
Nebraska.
Nebraska, man, which is known for corn, and that's about it, and snow. But I got to say, Eddie Bonney, the new executive director of the LHSAA, he's only been on for a few months, but I've been impressed with how he handled this gasoline fire that was tossed in his lap when he got on board with the officials, and how he's made a couple of hires. And it seems like he's getting some good people around him, both between the Coaches Association and the Athletic Association. So I'm really, I'm going to hold, you know, I'm going to reserve judgment. It's only been a couple of months, but so far in the short period of time Mr. Bonney has had to display his skills, I got to give him an A so far.
I agree with you, Eric. This is definitely a feather in his cap. And, you know, and it just goes to show you that society is starting to realize that conversations become better with the more diverse voices you have at the table. So this is really good for Louisiana. This is really good for high school sports. And I'm just excited about what's going on there and what this could lead to. And Eric, we have joining us today the head football coach of the Capitol High Lions, Coach Johnny Duncan. Coach, welcome to the Louisiana All American Sports Show. How are you?
Welcome, Coach.
Good. Hey, Coach, man, before we get into the Capitol Lions and all that, I've got to ask you about one of my former players, your son, Coach Johnny Jr. Please tell me what's going on there. Where is he, and what's going on?
He's presently getting school supplies and stuff to move in the dorm. He's going to Southern University.
All right. Is he going to play ball? Is he going to play ball?
Yeah, he's going to play ball. He's going to. He's taking up civil engineering. He's redshirting this year, and he's going to be on the team next year.
That is so awesome to hear, man. It's hard to believe that little Johnny in college now.
I called Johnny Duncan Jr. I called one of his first high school football games when they played Chef back in 2011, and he was just a freshman, and the young man had some speed, and now he's like a man. Now that is just, it's so strange to now watch some of these people who I thought of as little kids coming full circle now into adulthood. When we first started this, you know.
Correct.
So look, and before we jump into the Capitol High stuff again, most people don't realize that Coach Johnny Duncan was an all-star SWAC athletic track and field person at Southern University. So if you could just talk a little bit about some of the accolades you received at Southern University, John.
Yeah, I was 7-time All-SWAC in the long jump, triple jump, and in the decathlon. And I was, you brought
seven times.
Wonderful.
Now, you said it like oh yeah, it was just 7 times.
That's 7 times, you dig?
It was fun.
I ran out of chances.
I was trained really, really well by Coach, the late great Coach Johnny Thomas, and he just, he kept us humble. So that's why it might sound like it wasn't nothing, but the way he trained us and put in our mindset, we just went out, did what we had to do, and, call it a day. We won, about 40-plus state SWAC titles under him, his career. And, I had 3 when I ran, and I coached for 4 more with him. So, it was just like another day at the office when it came down to track and field at Southern University.
Absolutely, man. And that's one of the areas that we lack in at Louisiana All American Sports. We don't cover a whole lot of track and field, especially on the college level. One of the reasons why we don't is because it's difficult to find information on the sport. One of our fellow co-hosts, Professor Johnson, has a daughter, Tara Lynn Johnson, who performed for Texas Southern the past 4 years in the triple jump, the long jump, and we wanted to cover her, but it was just difficult finding information out there without going to her dad and having him provide the information, and he's almost as humble as you, and kind of reluctant to do that. So that's why I wanted to get that in,
Coach.
But now, go ahead.
No, Coach, you mentioned that Coach Duncan is really being humble and modest, because I'm going to tell you something, man. Coach Duncan really, he was the track coach in 2012 at Madison Prep Academy, and he really nudged me to try, to cover a little bit of track and field, and what little foray Louisiana All American Sports has into track, and frankly, the entire depth of my knowledge of high school track is because of Coach Duncan. And I'll tell you, while I don't know if we'll have much room for it on the schedule. It is, if you have a chance to see a local track meet, it's something to see, and Coach Duncan was really a very good ambassador for that, opened my eyes to it, and whatever future opportunities we'll get, it'll definitely be because of that foundation that Coach Duncan laid. So, Coach is letting us toot his whistle today is what it is, and deservedly so.
Absolutely. Let's talk Capitol High Lions. It's not too often that I say that, Coach Duncan. I want you to know that.
Let's get down to it. Let's get to the nitty-gritty.
But what's in store this year for the Capitol High football team? First of all, let me ask you this before we go there. Have they taken the interim off of your title?
Yes, I'm 100% head football coach, no interim at all.
Awesome. Congratulations. Talk to us about your team.
Okay, I'm very excited about this year's team. It was the first time we was able to have a full spring and summer workout. Last year, we only had maybe about 15 to 17 players all summer long, and I mean, that's hitting and missing. That's on a good day. We was down to like 5 a day, then 7 one day, but this year we had a consistent 25 to 27, and with registration held last week, I'm up to about 47 players, and only have 6 seniors.
Wow.
So which means you're building... I'm sorry.
We are big, we are strong, and of course, by having a track background, we are definitely fast. I have about 4 guys that's around the 4.45 area. One is actually a 4.41 running back. We're excited about what's about to happen with Capital football.
That is so awesome. Eric, you have anything, Joker?
Yes, I do, Coach. So can you tell us a little bit, I guess, about the last season? I guess tell the story for folks that might not have been able to follow Capital that closely. So the success, good, bad, or otherwise, you all had last season. It sounds like with only 6 seniors, you guys are building you're kind of getting your priming your pump and kind of having your farm system going, and kind of going forward. Tell us what you realistically expect next year for the guys, and kind of the challenge of making that football program viable when it's suffered some real challenges between the school board and others for its very existence in some regards.
Okay, well, as far as last season, we had really a lot of difficulty with the closure of Estruma and the rumors that Capital was closing, so we had a lot of athletes scatter and went to other schools because they didn't want to take the chance of coming and the school not being open and messing up their eligibility. So we kind of took a blow on that and basically, went with the students and the kids that we had and just kind of, help them just buy into what we had, the vision that I had, because I wasn't the original head coach at the beginning of the season. And it just so happened, the head coach in interim fell in my lap at week 3. After week 3, we still were, trying to get in shape. We was teaching because we only had, a handful of kids all summer, so we couldn't do the teachings. We couldn't do the 7-on-7. So we was basically kind of, as the season season go, getting in shape and teaching and learning as we go each week, which was, kind of hard. I mean, we'll be in the game, but with only like 23 kids on the sideline, and we play against, teams with 45 and 50. In the fourth quarter, we kind of ran out of juice on a lot of games. So we're in the game until maybe the third, and then, fatigue set in, and with fatigue, you get mistakes, and then, that's where the interceptions are thrown and the penalties, and we just kind of had a lot of blunders. I was impressed as far as the tenacity that we had because we got at everybody we played. We ended up going to the first round of the playoffs and playing Northeast, and they beat us 14-6, and they went all the way to the semifinals. So we had some, a bright spot in there. We made a big error, which caused the turn of the game. I mean, so we was in the game all the way until the fourth quarter. So 14-6 against a semifinals team is really impressive with just 23 kids on the sideline. So that's why I'm so excited about this year, because all the mistakes that we made last season, I corrected those starting in January. We corrected everything. So I have numbers, I got experience, and then I got a little chip on my shoulder because I took my lump last year, and everybody who beat me got a
Well, okay. That was a lot you just said, Coach. I want to thank you for coming on Louisiana All American Sports Show. This is Gerard Piper, a.k.a. Joker P. And I want to let you know that I am an alumnus of McKinley High. And I've been listening to what you've been saying. We're not going to talk about last year. Yes, you did. You did good last year. I want to know, have you circled McKinley on your schedule? Number one, and since you got your 40-something players and you got your guys running 4-4, and I've been hearing you talk, I've been hearing you. Can I get a prediction this year of Capital Lions versus McKinley Panthers? And, you know where I stand. So, I'm just trying to create a little bit of, I want to get you. Have you been telling your kids about the tradition? Do your players know about the tradition between the McKinley Panthers and the Capital Lions?
And, Coach, no pressure, but you're probably going to have that game broadcast over the air for all the city to hear on 96.9 FM and Louisiana All American Sports.com. Right. No pressure, Coach,
yes,
but go ahead.
But go ahead.
There's never any pressure with me. It's funny because the offensive coordinator at McKinley was the head coach at Capital last year before, things happened. So, and I'm very good friends with Sid Nader.
Prediction. Can I get one? Will you beat the McKinley High Panthers this year? Yes or no, Coach?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
But I wouldn't expect you to say this.
I wouldn't expect.
Listen,
I like it, Coach. I like it. Man, good luck to you guys, though. I'm very impressed by you. Go ahead. I was saying I was very impressed by you guys last year, man, and the way Capital, I know, with the alumni. We've talked about this before, Louisiana All American Sports, about the tradition that the Capital High has. In order, seeing a Struma go down the way they have, we're trying to hold on to Capital, man. There's too much tradition there and too much culture there for us to lose you guys, So, man, you keep it going. It's awesome to hear you now have participation from the younger kids out there. They only knew, the alumni that you guys have. You know what I mean?
And we finally got a lot of alumni to bring their kids. We're going to have an enrollment close to 500 this year.
Wow.
We went from
that's healthy.
They had maybe 2 years ago 175. Last year, our first year, we had 365. And right now, we had like 470 with kids. We get enrolled, people checking in, maybe five, 6 kids a day trying to get in.
Wow.
Because
that's awesome.
The culture over there, and yeah, we're going to have close to, if not over 500 by the start of school tomorrow, Monday. It's a close possibility, close to 500.
It's a reversal of fate.
Well, you know what? That makes a whole lot of sense because you're well known throughout the community, and people know the type of person you are. So parents out there with kids that are athletes, I can see them saying, well, yeah, I want Johnny Duncan to coach my kids. So I get that. That makes sense to me. Let's talk about the district. And first of all, tell our listeners which district it is.
We're in 7-2A.
7-2A, and that is comprised of who? What schools?
East Louisiana, now Madison Prep, Mentorship Academy, Capitol High, Dunham, Episcopal, Northeast. So that is one of the strongest. We have we have a 10-team district, but 2 teams don't have football. So we have eight schools that has football. So we start, when most people start their district in week 5, we start in week 4 with Madison Prep. So we only have 3 non-district, and we go straight into district games.
Okay, so the McKinley game has to be a huge game for the alumni. It traditionally always has been. However, personally, for Coach Johnny Duncan, that week 4 has to be scheduled where he's playing his former employer, Madison Prep. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yes, sir. It's my big game. You know, we all know about the downtown showdown in the history, but for me personally, it's that. I think I'm holding, something dear to my heart for a couple of coaches that I know.
Wow.
Folks, if you listen to this show every week, it shouldn't be hard to connect the dots.
I think some people are going to be rooting for me. I'm quite sure on that game.
All right.
That game, I know 2 personal coaches that's going to be rooting for me.
Oh yeah. They had a fantastic kicking coach who was there too. Who definitely was rooting for you also, sitting right in this chair.
Guns
Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I was going to say, look, I mean, you're talking about that district. We talk about Madison Prep and how, I mean, you and Coach Perry Daniels were assistants along with Coach Kevin Jackson, who's been a coach on the show, and bringing that program up through its infancy. But now, last year that team reached the state's. Sorry, that was Johnny Duncan Jr. running by. They reached the state semifinals. That district's going to be competitive. Do you know much other than Madison Prep and how far they've come? What else do we know about that district and the competitive balance of that district?
Well, in this district, like last year, East Louisiana won district. They were ranked in the top 10. Northeast was ranked in the top 10. Episcopal was ranked in the top, and Dunham was ranked. So, I mean, the main 4, now you add a Madison Prep, they are all real high-ranked, tough competitors. So, I mean, you putting, the best of the best in one district, and you have to be up every week. You can't have a down week. Once the district starts, there's not much of a down week at all.
Really, the competitiveness of the district rivals the local 3A district there in Baton Rouge. And we talk about that all the time on the show about UHI, Bruley, Fort Allen, how competitive Parkview Baptist that district is. And now this 2A district, when you add Madison Prep to an already heavy district, it is just going to be extremely competitive. So, my question to you, though, Coach, let's talk about some of your players, some of your key players that you would like to mention today.
Okay, I'll start off. I have a senior linebacker. He had 147 tackles last year. His name is Gerard. He's been at Capitol for 4 years. I've got the pleasure of coaching him for 2. This will be my 2nd year. 3.6, 21 on ACT.
Wow.
Very tough competitor, feeling that inside up. I have a junior that's a 3.6, 18 on ACT, Chris Duhon. He's like my vocal leader. He's like my hothead. Put it like that. He's a pitch fire. He's gonna give me everything he has, and he's gonna let the players know what's going on. I got a 3.8 6'3", 4'40" running back, James Graves. He came with me from a schooner. Very fast, elusive. If he gets past the first line, he gone. You can stop running. Don't even just go to the sideline and get ready for the extra point because you're not going to catch him.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Coach, due to time, we're going to have to let you go. I'll say a couple more things, though. One, any opportunity for your former head coach over at Madison Prep coming on board over there?
Repeat that, please. Yeah, you was breaking up here.
Yeah, your former head coach from Madison Prep. Are you looking to bring him on board over there at Capitol High?
I'm definitely trying to. I'm talking to the administration. We had a principal change, which kind of threw a monkey wrench in everything. At the last minute, like while we were actually doing professional development, the principal that, Coach Jackson interviewed with ended up resigning. Just out the blue. We never knew anything about it. So that messed up everything all the plans I had, because now we brought in a new principal and it started process over. I got to start over, all the way over from, ground zero now, because now whatever leeway and, pool I had was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and let me say this, Coach. Again, we thank you for joining us on here, All American Sports. You always welcome here. You have my number. I want to let you know that you are the first coach that we've had on that mentioned the kids' grade point average.
Mm-hmm.
And Capital sometimes gets a bad rap on the educational side of things, and those behaviors that you announced there were very solid, and that's a credit to what's going on over there at the new Capitol High School. And lastly, I want you to know that I will be ready week 4 if you need any assistance, any strategy-wise, scheme-wise, whatever you need. I will make myself available to make sure
Right.
you put a really good product on the field at least that week. Now, I'll make sure that I block your number the week of the downtown showdown.
That's right.
Hey, Johnny, man. Tell little Johnny I love him and peace. And best of luck to you and him.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, take care.
Appreciate it, Coach. I'll be seeing you week 2. We got you on tape, baby. Yes, sir. Good luck, man.
Coach.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Capitol High School head football coach Johnny Duncan, our guest. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. Hey, man, want to go to the music for the day. Hey, today was a very, very good day for me, but it was kind of reflective type day for me. Today is August the 8th, and actually tomorrow is August the 9th, which would be the 1-year anniversary of the death of Mike Brown. And this show to me is dedicated to Mike Brown. And we have the song of the day is going to be for him. And it's by The Game, and it's called Don't Shoot. So we're going to play this for you right now.
Our Lord, grant us good in this world and good in life.
I got you.
What we doing for the loss of Mike Brown? Cause right now I challenge you to use your talents to speak up, and don't you ever let them silence you, cause action speaks louder than words. That's what I heard. Shot down with his hands up, that's what occurred. Man, that sounded...
Wow.
God didn't put us on this earth to get murdered. That's an awesome hook, and the message I think speaks for itself.
Yeah, man, and it's been 14 teens that's been killed since Mike Brown in a year. I thought, I think that is wow. His death was kind of like the spark that created it all with the riots in Ferguson, and I just don't know what to say. It's just like it's almost like a snowball effect. It seemed after, or maybe it's just we're seeing it more. Maybe it's just a light's being more shined on it now than in the past.
Absolutely, that's what it is. And it is a credit to the youth of Ferguson, of St. Louis. You know, the media has done a good job of trying to paint Ferguson as some isolated hick town that is, you know, off the beaten path. Well, it is a suburb of St. Louis. And those youth stood up and brought attention from the entire world to their situation, to their issue, and we just have to give them credit for that. It's a tragic situation that we have to resolve as a society. And I'm sitting here having this conversation, and just before we go on the air, Joker shares with me the story of Christian Taylor, an unarmed 19-year-old shot Friday morning in Arlington, Texas, and they're still investigating exactly what took place there. Shot by a 49-year-old police officer, and the police officer's name is Brad Miller, and he hadn't been on the police force for a year.
Wow.
So, you know, we can't speak to that much more because the details are still coming in. So we don't want to be overly presumptuous regarding that situation, but it smells a lot like what we've endured since August the 9th of last year.
You know what frustrates me to no end, Coach, is when these stories come up in the news, and you start hearing people almost without looking at facts or considering, just rushing to the defense of the assailants. I mean, you look at the Mike Brown situation, and it floors me that, you know, Mike Brown was shot from 30 feet away by Officer Darren Wilson, and you hear people saying, "Oh, he lunged at him," and he's like he's some kind of abominable snowman or something like that. You know, I'm thinking to myself, you know, if you are afraid for your life from what a guy with bullet wounds in him can do with his bare hands from 30 feet away, people in the NFL would walk around packing heat.
Shouldn't be a
you know
cop.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
all the time, because I mean they're much less than 30 feet away from one another, and they are charging with full force. You know, and then you look at the situation in Arlington, and I don't know the details, but it's the same old story. And to me, if you, not just if you're a cop, but really if anybody, but especially a cop, if you cap somebody who doesn't have a weapon, the scrutiny and the heightening of the investigation ought to be raised to another level, because to me there should be a presumption of, cops have a tough job, so I don't want to say a presumption of wrongdoing, but a presumption of a need for thorough investigation when a police officer shoots somebody without a weapon, because it begs the question, why are you shooting? Really, when anybody is shot without a weapon, there should be a presumption that tips against the side of the shooter, because that on its face is very questionable.
Man, most definitely, man. And it's always the same thing, like you said. They always try to make the victim or the person that get killed, make him out to be some type of monster. You know, oh, he was more, had superhuman strength, and he looked at me with a death stare.
He couldn't survive bullets.
Right. Or they'll say Trayvon Martin, he had a hoodie on, and he looked at real suspicious. And even the police that shot the guy in Cincinnati said, oh, he tried to run over me, and until the body cam came out and exposed his lies. So it's just, the first thing they're going to do is all the time is throw salt on the person, on the victim.
He tried to run over him from his driver's seat.
Right. But anyway,
So part of the evolution that we must go through as a society is that we need to look at how we hire people for those positions.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, it's been those that, former high school football coach that, big guys, and maybe we need to change that approach. Maybe we need to get some of those 3.3, 3.5 kids that, may go on to be civil engineers some of those folks that we term as nerds during high school, maybe those need to be the officers so that they can use their intellect to diffuse situations and not their brute.
Oh, Perry, you know what you call those guys with the 3.3s and the college degrees who are in law enforcement? We call them detectives and captains and lieutenants. And, unfortunately, it's those guys who have to come in after the fact who probably would have made a more intelligent, well-thought-out decision to, not jump to guns blazing in the first place. You hit the nail on the head. It's a systemic problem. And I don't know if it's you put more money in law enforcement to attract better qualified people with more cognitive abilities, because to me it seems that you should have more than brute force when you're going around swinging guns and batons. You should have some old gray matter firing when you're making split-second decisions of life and death. And I think you look at I know we had a state trooper travesty in Texas, but in general you don't hear about state troopers doing this kind of thing because these guys are subject to a lot more scrutiny and you never hear about this at the FBI, because these guys are all college graduates, Mensa candidates and stuff like that had all this experience. But when you hear these towns, especially smaller towns and suburbs with these cops who have high brute but low IQs and lots of dashed dreams get on there and they're ready to be a man and show what they're doing, that seems to fit the profile. Darren Wilson being an excellent example. There was an article on his background in the news just a week ago. These seem to be the kinds of people who are perpetuating these crimes. And when you're giving them guns and giving them power, it just seems to me that the filter ought to be higher, and whether it's more money for salaries, better recruiting, I don't know what the answer is, but this is not working because one death like Mike Brown's is unacceptable, let alone 14. I'm losing count. I'm actually getting numb to it, and it's very frustrating to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well, if you ask me, I think that you almost have to scrap the whole system. Because the way the system is set up with police is just kind of like it's a rivalry type thing. It's not it doesn't matter at the end of the day who is in there per se. The police have a certain they're like a gang. They're really like a gang. They're in there for themselves. If you get hired with them, whether you coming in good and you want to try to change, you're gonna have to go with them. They're gonna have to change their approach with the community because it's kind of a us against them. And until they break that us against them, it's always going to be confrontational. It's always going to be issues with police. Us as African Americans, we're never really going to trust the police because after years and years of going through this, it's almost kind of in our DNA to be hesitant. I don't care what position you're in. That's the person in the hood, and that's the person in the boardroom. If you're African American, you have almost a genetic, for real. There's
predisposition to fear.
To fear or to always at least question. Always have that doubt a little bit, be cautious a little bit more. And that's until you get rid of that, I don't see it. You may have less deaths if you can get technical for as cameras and stuff like that. But in order, that gap to be bridged to have
the trust
relationship, or trust with the police, that is what's I'm looking at.
And Joker, it's not just a class thing. You mentioned the hood, and it's definitely as you go as people have less money and opportunity, those problems with the police being, those problems with the police rise as wealth and opportunity fall. But it's not just limited to the hood. I mean, the President of the United States said himself before he was elected a senator, he had to deal with, people clutching their purse in the elevator and locking doors in the parking lot and following them in stores. And Eric Holder said much of the same thing. And these are the most powerful people in this country and therefore the world, saying the same thing, but that we all share that one common thread, that pigmentation. And so it is a all-encompassing macro. It's a macro issue. It's not a micro issue from top to bottom. And there's got to be. I agree. There have got to be steps to establish that trust, and it has to start both at a high level. And I think that does come with overhauling the system, and at a community level where you have trust with the police. And there are some small towns where they do have good relationships with the cops. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but you always hear about some. I've visited a few where they get along great. This ain't one of them. And Baton Rouge is not as bad. I've seen worse, but Baton Rouge could be better. I'll leave it at that. But there are some communities where they have a good relationship with the police department because they have diversity, they have inclusiveness, and those cops get to know the people that they're protecting. Coach,
here's the question that I want to leave our listeners with, though, and we have to seriously contemplate this. Why aren't the African American officers killing unarmed
white people? Exactly.
anybody.
Anybody.
It's never happened. Right.
Then why is that? Why is this just appears to be a dominant culture male issue?
White men shooting black men. Perry's so much more politically correct than I am on that one. I'm not going to mince words on that when we're talking about killing people. That's what it is. And until we face that bluntly, we're not going to begin to really make significant progress.
Right.
Dan, why don't you hear about black cops killing other black folks? In part because of empathy. Why don't you hear about them killing white folks because they'll lose their job and get strung up, in my opinion? Now, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I mean, that's what it boils down to. You don't see that because of our sociology and because of our power structure in this country. And it's until you face it, until we're honest about it and talk about it, it ain't going to change. It's going to keep getting swept under the rug and more people get blown away. Coach,
let's talk about our Hall of Fame.
Yeah, this is kind of like what I call a train wreck here, transitioning from a serious subject like this. But we are a sports show, and my God, of all days of the year, we would be remiss if we did not discuss the greatest of all time in the National Football League.
Yeah, boy.
Just hearing that music makes me realize that
I'm ready.
Preseason football is less than
I'm ready.
is less than 24 hours away. And speaking of which, less than 15 minutes away is Noel Jackson with Music Satisfaction here on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. Some of the greatest contributors and players in professional football of all time are going to be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame over this weekend. It'll be a total of 8 inductees, 5 players, 5 recently retired players picked through the normal selection process, 2 contributors, and 1 player off the senior committee. And I did my little bit of research. They're all well-deserving. But I got to say, not only is it a good day for pro football, but it also drills down, I guess, a little bit into some college football traditions, because there are a couple of schools that have multiple representatives going into the Hall of Fame. I'm sure I don't have to tell you what school that one is of. And if you hear that old Notre Dame theme playing in the background, because the University of Notre Dame has 2, not 1, but 2 players going into the Hall of Fame, and 2 great ones. Jerome Bettis, the wheels on the bus went round and round for 13 years. He is ranked 5th all-time in rushing with 13,662 yards, 6-time Pro Bowler. Of course, they won Super Bowl 40 with the Steelers over the Seattle Seahawks. And Tim Brown, who I think is long overdue. A lot of players long overdue, but you had a glut, really, of the greatest players of all time retiring within about a 5-year period, so some great ones just had to wait. Tim Brown's one of them. Well, he's getting in today. Finished with almost 15,000 yards, over 1,000 catches, and 100 touchdown receptions. And also, not only did Notre Dame have multiple people getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, you guys are probably not going to guess the other one as easily, but if you watch enough Big Ten football, this might be a little bit of a context clue, as we actually mentioned the state earlier today for a different reason, but the Big Red, University of Nebraska, has 2 players getting in. One is from the senior committee, and that was longtime Minnesota Viking Mick Tingelhoff, who played for the Vikings. He was a center in the NFL, 7-time All-Pro, 5 times first-time All-Pro. This is a guy, you did not miss a start in 17 years. Okay, you play 17 years, don't miss a start, 7-time All-Pro. How in the world did this guy not get inducted sooner? But hey,
he's Mick. He's Mick.
But better late than never. And also Will Shields, who was a slam dunk, 14 years, man, played for the Kansas City Chiefs his entire career between 93 and 06, was All-Pro almost every year of his career, never missed a game during his 14-year career, one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time. So Nebraska and Notre Dame being heavily represented at the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction. Also, Charles Haley, who won, only player to win 5 Super Bowls between the Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers. He had 10 or more sacks in 6 seasons. He's another one who's kind of overdue. Bill Polian, I'm glad to see get in. This man is like the kingmaker. I mean, he built up those dominant teams in Buffalo that went to 4 straight Super Bowls, in Indianapolis that dominated the regular season and won Super Bowl 41 over the Chicago Bears. He was Executive of the Year 6 times. times named by Sporting News. He was a guy when Jim Finks passed away from the Saints. I was hoping they would be able to snag him. They of course came out all right eventually, but that he is the Michael Jordan of executives in the NFL. Junior Seau, one of the greatest linebackers of all time, played for 20 years. The late Junior Seau, who passed away tragically. He was suffering from CTE. That's a cranial traumatic encephalopathy, I think it's called. But 12 Pro Bowls, NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 92, All-Pro 8 times. And also Ron Wolf. Ron Wolf's a name I heard a lot in the 90s when he was with the Packers. Apparently, I didn't realize his days dated back to the AFL and building the Oakland Raiders dynasty. Also, a really incredible executive when I dug down into his resume. And, of course, he was involved with the Super Bowl winning team of the Green Bay Packers in Super Bowl 31 of the 1996 season, and was with those Oakland Raiders teams that won Super Bowls 15 and 18. Back in the 80s, just a great executive. So we have some great guys going in, and with that, I will let you guys have the floor.
Coach?
Well, anytime we get to this point of the year and we have this ceremony going on, it inevitably leads to the conversation of who's been left out. And there are 4 names that I want to throw out there, and some of them you may not even realize are not in the hall. First, we're going to start off with the Southern University graduate, of course. Hal Carmichael has been once again left off, the receiver.
He's overdue. He's long overdue.
Jim Marshall, he's in of the Minnesota Vikings, the Purple People Eaters. He's not in.
How? I didn't even know that. Perry, I did not know that.
Right, most people don't.
I did not know that.
A couple more for you. Well, one you will know, Sam Mills.
It's the matter of time.
Sam Mills is deserving of the Hall of Fame from my perspective. Former New Orleans Saints linebacker. And the other name that I think has been slighted over the years is wide receiver. Well, actually, there are 2. You have Cliff Branch.
Yeah, I don't understand how he's not in either. He played a long time.
Right. And Drew Pearson.
That's another one. Those are some good ones.
Man, he's not in the Hall.
And Perry, the Hall of Fame, actually, the Hall of Fames in general, just as a sports fan, have always fascinated me beyond the fact that I'm into sports. And I had no idea Jim Marshall wasn't in, but all those guys you mentioned, with the exception of Sam Mills, once they've been retired for more than 25 years, they have to pass through what's called the senior committee. That's how Mick Tingelhoff got in, and all those guys. I mean, Jim Marshall in particular. I did not know that, but they would have to go through. They'd have to get nominated by basically NFL alumni and put through. But I'll tell you what, all those names you mentioned, there's a cap of I think 2 per year that are let in. And all those guys, at some point, I would think ought to warrant consideration, and other guys who were passed over in the traditional selection process this year: Tony Dungy, Morton Anderson, Don Coryell, Marvin Harrison, Kurt Warner. I mean, that can't be right. But anyway, all those guys were Kurt Warner was passed over. Yep, he retired after 2009. But they got a lot of guys. It's what makes this part of what makes it so special, because when you name guys like that who are not in, it tells you how hard it is to get in. But Jim Marshall, I'm still kind of reeling. Jim Marshall's not in the Hall of Fame. I did not know that. He played before I was born, but I watched enough NFL films to know he was a bad mother. Shut your mouth. So I didn't mean to steal your thunder. That one just made me come out of my seat when you said that. I actually went to Wikipedia when you said that just to make sure. Is Perry sure about that? My God.
Right, man. And I thought it was a great class. I thought all of them was deserving to make it. And of course, Jerome Bettis. And I always thought that Haley took too long for him to get in, Charles Haley. Right. I always thought he was an awesome player, wherever he was at. But unfortunately, I think his off the field issues or the way his personality was, he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, a lot of reporters. And that's what, this Hall of Fame thing has a lot of politics, I think, that goes along with it. Because, of course, you can name some people. You can go with even numbers or otherwise, and see. So at the end of the day, to me, it's all about politics in a way. I have a question about next year. Next year is Brett Favre and Terrell Owens. What do you think?
Brett Favre, slam dunk. I think Terrell Owens should be a slam dunk. If you look at the numbers, I don't see how it's not a slam dunk. And I also think Kurt Warner, who was passed over this year, I would hope coasts in next year. But Brett Favre right away, and I don't see how anybody who's paying attention, because Terrell Owens retired after 2010, so he should be a slam dunk. I know he played in the 2011 preseason. I don't know if that pushes his eligibility back another year. I don't think it would, but that should be no-brainer. I mean, you look at Terrell Owens, except for Jerry Rice, as far as receptions and touchdowns and yards, he's Jerry Rice, and you have him and Randy Moss is up there too. They're not. Terrell Owens is statistically one of the 5 best of all time, and he's number 2 and number 3 on a lot of lists. Again, other than Jerry Rice, you're hard pressed to name anybody that had a more prolific career performance-wise than Terrell Owens. And the Hall of Fame guidelines in the NFL, which I like better than baseball, for example, that is laced with politics, it is strictly what you did on the field. The criteria, the guidelines for the committee is strictly on field. That's why Lawrence Taylor, even though he had gotten busted for a drug charge shortly before voting, they voted him right in because it was obvious. That's why O.J. Simpson has not been taken out, in spite of some of the cloud that's hung over him. The football, the guidelines, their politics and everything, Joker, but at least their guidelines are saying, look, when you're voting on a player, what do you do on the field? Don't care about all this other bull jive,
Well, speaking of politics up there, though, the NFL has decided to allow the Hall of Fame, because they're not one and the same. The Hall of Fame has decided to allow Sidney Seau to speak live today at is the ceremony today?
It should be tonight, I believe. I think it's tonight.
Yeah.
Like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, something like that.
So they have decided to allow her to speak live, and that should be very interesting if she will give the American public a glimpse into her father's last days and the results of CTE and 20 years of NFL football. I'm interested to see how that shakes out.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see too, man. And speaking of NFL news, I didn't know that Alden Smith was arrested again, and and that's another blow for the 49ers. Another deep. Man, this guy is fifth arrest since 2012.
Talk about a guy who you hope he can get his life together. I mean, the 49ers, first of all, they gave him a lot. This is like they gave him second chance, third chance, fourth chance, and I think the new coach Jim Tasula, I believe his name is. I think he just had to make a move because it's really holding the team down after a while. This was a painful move for them on a couple of levels. The talent that Alden Smith has is undeniable. You can see that with your eyes, but also the salary cap. He just signed an extension 2 years ago. That skewered them. So I know they didn't make this decision lightly. Go ahead, Joker.
Oh, man, I just wanted to touch on earlier. I wanted to touch on Southern University football. They're going to be going to Georgia this year, playing the Bulldogs this year.
No.
Yeah.
I hope that's a fact check.
Yes. I'm
sure.
looking at it now. The two non-conference games will generate $1 million in revenue.
Yeah.
The game at Georgia is going to get $650,000 guaranteed, and they play Louisiana Tech.
Yep.
And that's going to be $350,000 guaranteed. The Jaguars only have 4 games this year at A.W. Munford Stadium. And, they have an opener at Mississippi Valley State on September the 12th. And after then they play their home opener next Saturday against Jackson State. So
gotta make that money, man.
At Georgia, September the 26th. Wow, ain't that something? The Bulldogs.
And they will be the Jags will be on television, national television, at least 4 times. I'm not seeing anything TBA on the Georgia game, but I'd imagine that's going to be on one of the SEC networks. But American Sports Network will cover the La Tech game, Thursday night game on ESPNU for Mississippi Valley State. ESPNU will cover the Jackson State game, which will be here in Baton Rouge, which is huge, and of course the Bayou Classic, which will be on NBC. So a lot of good action next year.
Oh, so no, it's going to be on NBC Sports.
NBC Sports.
They've moved it, yeah.
Sorry, my bad. You're right. You're correct. You are absolutely right, Perry. Johnny on the spot right there. So I'm looking forward to that. I guess we'll talk a little LSU next week. I know we had discussed that, but we got about 3 minutes left. So I'm thinking maybe we should go around the horn and make our parting shots. Shot.
Yes,
Go ahead,
indeed.
guys.
I want to thank all the listeners for listening today. Thank my family and thank my co-host. Peace out.
I just, I'll tell you, it's just, we talk. I'm looking forward, first of all, to the return of football season tomorrow. To me, it's like the coming of spring for some folks. And this is a town. Some often joke it's a drinking town with a football problem, but I am looking forward to the start of the gridiron. I'm just, but just the other stuff going on in society, though, we got to keep our eye on the prize, because in the department store of life, sports are in the toy section. And while we should enjoy ourselves and should have fun, we've got to get a handle on a conversation and a handle and start finding some solutions to these problems that have dogged us.
Absolutely, well said.
Well said, my brother.
Let me say that I was joking a little bit with Coach Johnny Duncan, but I have no animosity towards Madison Preparatory Academy. I love those folks over there and those students over there, and it's a fine institution, and what they've done athletically has been pretty remarkable when you look at it.
Yes, indeed.
So I was joking with Coach Duncan, but I just wanted to clear that. As far as what's going on in our society, it's going to take us all. It's going to take us all to be vigilant and to have these tough conversations, to have the conversations that we have and go back to our groups when we get together in our own little groups and talk. We've got to have those conversations openly with each other.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. Well said, Coach.
Yeah, man. Well, there's Johnny Jr. again. Boy, I'm looking forward to seeing him play ball.
What was that?
All right, well, 30 seconds left. Perry?
ADT, JNS, love you.
Have a good afternoon.
Peace out.
Hail to the king and lots of love. May he protect us from the evil. Hail to the king, lots of love. May he protect us from evil.